dodged a bullet, by the way, with Wembanyama. Did we want Wembanyama in Charlotte? No, we did not. Did we want him in Detroit? No, we didn't. We wanted him with Greg Popovich. That's what we wanted as sports fans.
Yeah. Well, he's going to play maybe 33% of the games if they're lucky.
What is wrong with you?
I looked at the man. I saw his body and seeing what he was doing on the court and realized, that's not going to work out.
No time to talk basketball. Got to make stuff. Let's go.
Yeah. Very, very. He's bow-legged. He's got very close knees. Wow. Yeah. My daughter has it, too. When she starts running, I'm like, that's going to snap one day.
So wrong, man.
What?
If he does it with his daughter, he can do it with anyone.
Guys, all right. No, I'm the idiot, right? We all had these observations about Chet Holmgren in the summer league.
It's just not the day for it, Mike. It's just not the day for it. Mike
also had them about Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
this is all what
he was
people say
great.
about Kevin Durant.
He was great. And what started happening to his body after two championships?
He's going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but Wembanyama's body's even more unprecedented than Kevin Durant.
Can we please do a stat of the day with Mike Schur, who's been running scared for a couple of days now, and can we please walk Mike off of the position? You can at any point in the next many, many years question whether or not giant, thin, lanky guy is going to get hurt playing basketball. It's not necessary for you to do it on the very first day that he becomes a professional in the NBA.
It's hyper-athletic, skinny, lanky guy playing in a small market.
Maybe Porzingis gets hurt. If this person is healthy, he will be great. Maybe it'll be Zion. Not what I want to talk about today. It seems wrong to continue to do this.
If he is healthy, I agree with LeBron. Certainly since Luka. I was totally in love with Luka as a prospect, but I think this is the best prospect to enter the NBA since LeBron did.
Why didn't you say that in the last segment?
Well, because everyone's saying that now. And you think it's a time to be joyous, and here I go, giving you a hard dose of reality. That Achilles looks like a little flimsy to me.
You were rooting for your team to lose in the play-in tournament to have a 0.5% chance of getting the guy you now say is
no. He would say healthy here because we play in a major market and culture.
Yeah,
and
culture.
the Heat too.
Yeah.
By the way, Tony,
because
Pelicans.
Of the culture. I forgot about the culture.
Pelicans got the 14th pick. By the way, Tony.
If it was the Heat, though, if it was the Heat, it would have been the number one pick.
Jeremy, can you explain to me? Amin's been banned for a couple of segments here, and we will get to a stat of the day with this coward Mike Schur, who's not going to watch Celtics Heat. Not going to do watch parties with us. I want to do a watch party, but he doesn't want to watch the games. He's scared of the games. Jeremy, Spurs and people howling that all of that is rigged. When all of the ping pong balls, they had a 14% chance, and what happened that suggests that all of the balls were going their way last night?
Yeah, Fred Katz was in the room, and he tweeted right after the draft lottery. Just emerged from the drawing room of the lottery where San Antonio didn't just win the first pick. Spurs got drawn 2 more times in the lottery, so they had to redo multiple picks. Destiny was on their side tonight, is how the tweet ends.
You know where I've seen this before? One of the Ocean's movies. I think it was 12, where Bernie Mac has those dice that he clicks, and then all of a sudden they roll over Snake Eyes. That's what's going on with these ping pong balls. There's something there that's being magnetized up to the suction cup thing. There's something wrong there.
What is it with you and magnets?
This week has been a weird week with Tony and magnets.
He had guns having something that was...
Guys, I'm trying to speak from a spiritual level, and you guys want to take everything as face value.
I'm
I
putting
can't
myself
do this.
in a listening posture.
Thank you. All I'm saying is that when you have something, it attracts something, right? That's all I'm trying to say.
Like guns.
Like guns. Like when you have a gun, you attract people that have guns. It's just a magnetic force thing.
Let's move off of guns if we can.
I mean, if you've watched John Wick, though, he's right.
Let's do the stat of the day with Mike Schur. But before we do that, I am genuinely curious. Did you hear or think anything different when it came to the silliness involved with the Ja Morant controversy, where he seems to be risking substantive things with an immaturity level that I don't think that a whole lot of people would defend?
All I know about that situation is I am sure not qualified to speak on it. I don't think most people should be speaking on it. I don't think it's it's not obviously what you would consider to be normal behavior. I don't know what's going on there. I don't want to speculate. I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad for everybody involved. I feel bad for his whatever's happening in his life that's leading him to these places. Like, it's just a bummer, man, because there are, as someone who actually watches the NBA, I'll speak to the fact that there are maybe 3 guys in the league it's more fun to watch on a regular basis. I've also watched a lot of Memphis Grizzlies games, and he is so fun. He's so good. He's so talented. His future is so bright, and it just bums me out. It's just a very sad situation. I hope whatever is haunting him, he can get a handle on, because I want that guy to be around for a long time, and I want that team to be good. That team was positioned to be the new team. That was it. They were, as you've said many times, they were coming for the Warriors. They were coming for the whole league. They were saying he was saying back in whatever it was, December, that the only team he feared in the league was the Celtics. Like, we're good in the West is a kind of an amazing thing to say, but he had the skill to back it up, and now it just looks like it's kind of falling apart. If he doesn't get a handle on whatever it is he needs to get a handle on, this is going to be one of those really sad stories of a guy whose ceiling was impossibly high and he just never quite figured out how to get there. So I don't want to speculate or just talk flippantly about a guy who clearly has some stuff he's got to work through. I just hope he works through it.
As someone that doesn't watch basketball and just woke up to Twitter every morning after visiting the Hub, I also realized that Ja Morant was pretty exciting.
Oh, good.
Can I ask you this, though, Mike? As you say, I'm not comfortable commenting, or I'm not expert commenting on this. I saw the commissioner of the league on a day of great celebration of young people be genuinely shocked on television that he's talking about this again, that Ja Morant showed contrition, and Adam Silver is telling you, he's just sitting there on television, not like he wasn't prepared for the question, and he's saying, I saw this video and I was genuinely shocked. The man who has said, I've got an unhappiness problem in my league. My young players don't seem to be very happy. Kyrie Irving, they're connected to the internet in a way that seems to be unhealthy for young people. That's being proven all over the place. When you say you're not qualified to talk about it, it feels like everyone's talking about it, including a commissioner cultures to punish this kid who is doing things that don't make sense to many of us.
Yeah, well, he has to talk about it. He runs the league. So there's a difference between him and me, obviously. But, I think I agree with you. He sounded genuinely surprised and shocked. I would imagine that's because of the conversation, or conversations, plural, that he had with Ja and the team and everybody else after the first one, and the statement that Ja made after the first time this happened. I think he probably thought he understood the situation, had a handle on it, and then it wasn't going to happen again. And when it happened again, or similar thing happened again so quickly, I think it probably was genuinely shocking and disappointing. But yeah, look, again, this is not an interesting or new point, but he's 23 years old. I have a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old. We are only beginning to find out how the world and the pandemic and the modern culture and social media affects young people. Like, books and books and books are going to be written about this for the next 50 years, about what it's doing to people's heads. And when you have not only when you're not like a normal kid, but an extraordinary person who grew up in this age and who has millions of dollars and fame and talent and the eyes of tens of thousands of people resting on you, like, it's a miracle that more people his age don't have serious problems that they're working through, whatever they are. So he did sound genuinely shocked. I don't think he should be. I don't think anyone should be, because I think that the world is a really tough place to live for a regular person. And when you're an extraordinary person, I think it's 50,000 times as hard to grow up and exist and keep your head on straight. So I don't know. It's just, it makes me sad. The whole thing makes me sad.
Start of the day, it is the start of the day. Start of the day, it is the start of the day. Start of the day, it is the start of the day. Start of the day, it is the start of the day.
You guys are really good at it. Segues.
My goal, you say that, My goal is now to lure you into the trap of ending a thought with all of this makes me very sad, and then my dad dances in singing a happy jingle from the 1920s. What is today's stat of the day, Mike Schur?
No, to be clear, I knew what you were doing. And I wasn't confused about what you were doing.
I'm saying my goal is to have every segment
Every day.
now become that.
You can't trick him, Dan. He watches a lot of basketball.
I wish Amin were here for this, but the game that Nikola Jokic had last night, statistically, has only happened once before in the history of the NBA playoffs. That was Pau Gasol on April 20th, 2008 against Denver. Oh, no, wait. Hang on. I'm sorry. The first half that Jokic had last night has only happened before in an entire game in the playoffs, once before. 19, 16, and 7 with 2 blocks on 70% shooting. That has only happened once before in an entire game, and it was last night, Nikola Jokic in the first half. His full game, 34, 21, 14, and 2 blocks, has obviously never been done before in a playoff game or regular season game. No one has ever had the NBA game that he had last night. Also, according to StatMuse, Jokic is the first player in NBA history with multiple 30, 20, 10 playoff games. He's one of only 4 people with 5 30-point triple-doubles in the playoffs. That's LeBron, Oscar Robertson, Russ, and now Jokic. Also, 2 side notes here. The most 2010 5 playoff games by an active player, LeBron has 91. The next 3 guys combined have 74. But I think my favorite stat from the game, courtesy of Jeff Van Gundy, there were 2 centers in the game last night. They were 4 of 4 from 3. Jokic was 3 of 3. And Anthony Davis was 1 for 1.
We will let
The
you go
NBA.
on that note. Yes, I will say this for the record, that is an unprecedented game. Also, it's what he averages. It's legitimately unfortunate right now that Amin Elhassan, our basketball expert, the guy from a front office who really knows and has taught us a great deal about basketball, has been sent away for a penalty of multiple segments because he said the sentence, Zion, or some form of the sentence, Zion looks, I've seen him eat a pelican, which is not good commentary. It's not clever. It's not interesting. It's fat shaming, and it wasn't helpful in any way.
He's right, though. Should I join him? Or?
You've done enough. Your punishment is to now stay and work.
Sorry.
Well,
myself.
I'm frustrated by both of you for a number of different reasons.
What did I do? I mean,
other than almost burn the building down and everything? Burn everything down other than that?
it's not my fault. I was told to place my cigarette butts in that little tray, and that's what I've been doing.
You were also told long ago that this is a no-smoking building.
That's a fair point, Mike. I can't even argue it.
What have I done? You've actively tried at every turn, metaphorically and otherwise, to burn everything down. And then there's Amin, who flies in and wasn't even available early in the show. Why? Because his back hurts, and we've got a masseuse around here. And he just missed multiple segments on company dime, and we are investing in all of this. Like, we're creating monsters, just monsters.
I just want Juan back.
I got matched during Spencer Hall, so.
What's going on around here? A tree person, a masseuse. Jeez.
And we're surprised, though, that people aren't available for their expertise and break no smoking rules and threaten to burn down everything because they just take and take and take and take and take and break all the rules and don't listen to the rules and don't work when they're supposed to.
Is this what was going on at Vice?
How Vice went from being worth a lot of, like, we've got the potential to make a lot of money. Did you see what McAfee did? Walked away from a $120 million deal. Like, there's a lot of money out there. Walked away because it wasn't enough.
And he's allowed to say the S word on ESPN. Yeah.
Soccer?
No, that's still third rail over there. It's certainly not allowed, especially during their daytime programming. There's a rule.
Only football, no football.
Yeah.
Not on that show.
The greatest thing about Pat McAfee is he's super charismatic. People really like him. He's good at almost everything that he's done. In fact, he's made 7 figures in every job that he's done. But I believe his dream was to be a soccer player. And like everything else since then has been a pivot.
Put it on the poll, please. Has McAfee failed because he wanted to be a soccer player? Has Pat McAfee failed?
Do it on the pitch. I mean,
I wanted to talk a little bit about that deal for a number of different reasons because I'm really happy for him and have been a little startled by the number of people, by merely signing with ESPN, who assume that he will change, will be contaminated, will get corporate, and it doesn't pay attention to a couple of things. One, he's not going to hit any of the rails that this show would have. This show, Disney made decisions after George Floyd and didn't know how to handle any of the things that were wrought by George Floyd, and so we then left. And McAfee's not going to spend a lot of time getting them in trouble there. And furthermore, I've told you already about this, that all of the focus groups show. Every time I ran into a clash that had sparks with ESPN, I was told about the focus groups that said people do not want whatever is filed under politics, whatever that is, don't want it with this. That's not going to be a problem for him. And also on the front end, he's coming in with maximum value and leverage, and he's made his deal above Pitaro, above the president of ESPN. His deal has been made with Iger, who realizes, and this is one of the things that I was told at every turn, ESPN is going to make a digital investment. Dan, stick it out. Stick it out. ESPN Plus is going to be a big thing. But I was telling people at ESPN, hey, if you want a silly 3-hour thing that doesn't respect anything to put on ESPN2, we'll do it here for you. You just got to leave us alone. And they didn't want to do it then, but they want to do it now. And they're giving him carte blanche. For him to walk away from a $120 million deal, he's doing it for the reach. He's going to be on ESPN. He's going to be on ESPN Plus. He's going to be on ESPN YouTube. He's going to grow his thing, and he's done it perfectly, done it so well. He did not go for the deal they wanted to give him of be there every week grinding it out. He's like, no, thank you. Not going to do it that way. Come back to me when you guys are ready to give me the deal I want, which is money, and I'm going to use your reach for me. They didn't want to do that with us because this show does some things that are uncomfortable in headlines, and he gets the benefit of having the corporate partner that is the biggest of the Disney things. He's dealing with Iger, and I don't know why people assume that Disney's now going to spoil it when he's telling you. McAfee's telling you on the front end, they promised me they are not going to change this thing. They will not touch it. They will let me do it the way that I've done it. He's going to end up, I will tell you what's going to happen. He's going to get uncomfortable when he steps in it a couple of times and they ask him for apologies on whatever the thing is, whatever the silly thing of the moment that causes headlines is. But he'll be able to navigate that because he's coming in with, you're not changing this under any circumstances, and he's got support from the top of Disney.
I would find it hard to believe that a person would walk away from $120 million if he didn't get the deal exactly the way he wants the deal to be. I would find that nearly impossible to fathom.
And this is, you don't know the sacrifices you're making until you're making them. You don't know what the job is until you're actually doing it. But I would ask all of you, what is it? Because I am genuinely curious about this. Why is it that you assume, that you make the assumption, well, ESPN's gonna screw this up. Pat McAfee will not be allowed to be the same thing that he's always been. He's sold out. He is sold out to corporate. It can't ever be the same thing. Why the eagerness to assume that? We've lived it, and I don't assume it. I lived it like that. Some of that.
You don't feel like our show changed at all when we went from local to ESPN? I'm just asking. I don't think so either.
Well, no. Look, I'll tell you what the changes were. The changes were Mike got buried in sparks trying to protect us from whatever it was that didn't understand our show, didn't care to understand it, and allowed it to exist over there, but didn't support it that way. If it had been supported that way, hey, be on ESPN, be on ESPN Plus, be on ESPN YouTube, we couldn't be trusted to be supported that way. We did dunk Le Batard one time, and Mike was on his knees on the floor being brought the check, and it was a disaster.
You did show up late after a night of drinking with Ron McGill.
We couldn't be trusted there.
Yeah. I guess it's a royal we.
Well, we're all in this together. For better,
and then you
for
strolled
or
in
for
and said
worse.
the F word, which is the one word that even Pat McAfee can't say. So, yeah. Good times.
I mean, he does a show that's closer to ESPN sensibilities.
Man,
He
Pat's
does.
a smart guy.
Yeah.
Pat's a smart guy, and he's got the charm, and people don't necessarily come to his show for that. You venture into more of those topics. I mean, just look at our guest list over the last month. That's not really what Pat McAfee's show. Pat McAfee's show is a charismatic host, an ensemble cast, a good hang. No one's going to make you feel bad about what you may believe in, and he does. It's not really about challenging you. It's about giving you incredible access to guests that are super comfortable, and it's the industry leader in digital video, and this is a lot like how Disney operates. Even though their branding in itself in YouTube has, I think 9 million subscribers, they're not really this big digital video monster when it comes to original content, if we're taking ESPN Plus and live game rights out of the way. So what do? They get the YouTube attraction. They get the YouTube show, and now all of a sudden ESPN can call themselves an industry leader in this space. That they had that with podcasts. They decided that they're going to punt on podcasts altogether. And right now the pivot is to digital video with Pat McAfee, and he's going to be, as he said, the tip of the spear on that. Credit to him. It's incredible.
Stugotz, though, I would ask you, right? If not, I'd like to talk to both our audience and his audience when I say this, okay? If, as a business proposition, I understand that Disney told us in some forms to get out and now welcomes in a thing while firing all sorts of employees. Here's whatever millions of dollars a year. We're going to get rid of all of ESPN Radio's production people and everything else. We're going to have to fire people because Disney has to fire people. But Disney is also going to pay millions and millions of dollars for this one thing that they didn't build and have to give it freedom, when I could be hurt, or we could be hurt by, hey, we were right over here. We could have done that for you for millions and millions of dollars. The part that I wanted to ask you, because I run into this some now with Billy Corbin and Because Miami, and the cost of costing yourself listeners. The cost of it, as go woke, go broke. I've seen our audience, some of the things we've done simply by platforming a couple of drag performers or politicians fighting for trans rights. It's not even making an argument. It's just platforming. Bye-bye, guys. Bye. Gone after 20 years. Yeah, that's the cost. I know. I'm choosing it. That's the cost. And I'd argue it's not politics, just decency, just equality. That's the platform I'm running on. But what's the cost? Well, McAfee gets the platform now. That's the cost. That was our platform.
Mm-hmm.
That's the cost.
I miss that platform.
I know.
Desperately.
I don't miss the people. I miss the platform, though.
Platform.
And the reach.
Oh.
And just the access.
Oh, the tickets.
And just being able to explain to people, hey, what is it that you do? Oh, I work for ESPN. It's a lot less complicated. I used to work for ESPN, and now I'm on with DraftKings. I'm very happy building a company. Don't do it during a pandemic.
Big explanation.
A couple of movies are being remade that I don't think need to be remade. And I'm guessing, I don't know this for sure, that Tony, our resident ignorant young person, might not have familiarity with either one of the movies. I am willing to be proven wrong, but I'm always surprised by what the generational gulf brings, Beetlejuice is being remade.
No, false. It's a sequel. We're not remaking it. We're bringing back original cast, original characters, beloved characters, and advancing on the story Tim Burton told us several years ago.
It is going to include Michael Keaton and Willem Dafoe and Justin Theroux and Winona Ryder. You're right. It is not being remade. It is a sequel being rebooted 30 years later or however long it is. Do you know the movie I'm speaking of, Tony?
Beetlejuice is the guy in the kind of zebra suit, right? He's either some sort of zombie or goblin or demon of some sort.
It's a ghoul.
A ghoul? Okay.
He was close.
Yes.
He's an
close
undead
enough.
character.
A ghoul is fine. Roy making a clarification there that I think is important.
Couldn't have gone with me on zombie, right?
No, but it's not. I mean,
Two different things.
He's on a zombie.
he's not a zombie. Roy is, but there's not the ghoul genre. Not doing a lot these days.
No.
We'd agree, right? Like when Roy gets in there and says he's a ghoul, put it on the poll, please, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Is Beetlejuice a ghoul?
He called himself the ghost with the most. Isn't that right, Mike?
So he's just like a mischievous ghoul that gets into trouble and hijinks ensue?
How are you saying that word?
Ghoul?
No, mischievous.
Mischievous?
Mischievous.
Mischievous?
I like mischievous.
The other movie that is being remade, Mike, are you exciting? I'm sorry. Forgive
Am
me,
I
a
excited
sequel.
for
A
Beetlejuice 2?
sequel.
Absolutely.
Can I get a synopsis of what the movie's actually about, or did I nail it with just like hijinks ensue?
Yeah, it's a ghoul and hijinks ensue.
Yeah, it's a comedy. It's a comedy. This young couple moves into a New England home. They find themselves deceased and having to walk them. Yeah, they have to find their way through the underworld. Meanwhile, they're coping with the fact that this new family has moved into their home because they've lost their lives and they're not capable of being scary ghosts. So they hire a mercenary ghost, the ghost with the most, and he tortures everybody and hilarity ensues.
But is he a ghost or is he ghoul?
He's the ghost with the most.
So he's a ghost.
Ghost with the most.
Well, but Roy, this would make you wrong.
Let me look at the difference between.
Yeah, he's a ghost, not a ghoul.
A ghost is not a ghoul. What are the clarifications? Put this on
I
the
know
poll.
the difference between a ghost and a goblin.
Juju, put this on the poll, please. Do you know the difference between a ghost and a ghost and a ghoul? Do you know the difference between a ghost and a goblin?
Nothing.
And do you know the difference between a ghost and a goose? Go ahead and have at it with all of those because I don't know the difference between a ghost and a ghoul. But there is a difference. And I thought Roy was right in calling Beetlejuice a ghoul, but not if Beetlejuice is saying he's the ghost with the most, which he might just be saying
A
'cause
ghoul
it
is an
rhymes.
undead monster which eats human flesh.
Right.
So like a zombie.
What's a goon to a goblin?
Wait a minute. The ghoul is the same as the zombie? So Tony is right after all that the ghoul is the same as the zombie?
What's a king
has
to
to
a
be.
god? But what's a god to a non-believer?
I
It's
wouldn't
a good
know.
question.
Who don't believe in anything.
Tony found God this weekend. It might have been a ghoul, might have been a ghost, might have been a goose.
Luckily, not a goblin though.
But super excited for Beetlejuice 2 because we get to see what's happened to these characters. Winona Ryder's character has a child. It'll be played by Jenna Ortega. And also Tim Burton still continuing the wonderful tradition of casting his girlfriends in movies. Monica Bellucci will also be in this.
Should I be disturbed at all that my wife, my lovely wife, Valerie, loved The Leftovers with Justin Theroux, and Justin Theroux spent that entire show. It's a beautiful, beautiful show. But he spent it nude. And with, he's got a hard body. Should I be disturbed at all that every time Justin Theroux makes an appearance on screen, including and never more so than in White House Plumbers, my wife shouts, "Mustache rides"?
Hello.
Get that one checked out there, Dan.
I have the same reaction.
Yeah.
As do I.
Yeah.
I think in Leftovers I believe there is a scene where he has the same reaction. I believe there's a dream sequence scene where he's nude a lot. And she seems to enjoy that. And so do I.
He's a very good-looking man.
I mean, he is. He's
That
beautiful.
body.
When
that
you have a
knee.
soft body and you see somebody with a hard body, you're like, huh,
Yeah.
I don't have that. I don't have that particular equipment.
You're like, I'd like that.
happening.
I'm not a fan of that tattoo on his back, though.
Look, we've normalized
Out of character for Roy.
We've normalized chastising athletes for performance enhancers, but come on. Ooh, how'd you get this body for this role? We all know. It's always right. The
It's
answer
trend.
is roids and human
Anavar.
growth hormone.
I always just assume it's like just this trainer that they hire for 6 months that cooks all their food for them.
It
and all that
is.
stuff.
And also human growth hormone.
Yeah. Well, and also whatever that was, that injection you were telling me that all the celebrities were stealing from the diabetics to lose
Yeah.
weight.
No, Post Malone just stopped drinking soda, as he called it.
But what Ozempic? Is that what it's
Ozempic,
called?
Yeah, Ozempic.
Also on the movie front, moving away from Beetlejuice and Beetlejuice 2, Michael J. Fox, he's got a new documentary on Apple that I have not seen yet that I'm looking forward to seeing. But evidently he was asked the other day about a remake of Back to the Future, and his response was, they could do what they want. I've already been paid for it.
Now that's a movie I'm in on, Dano. The trilogy, incredible. I love Back to the Future.
But is it a remake, or is it going to be like the fourth installment? Or you can't
That
do
would be a remake unless they want to do the nostalgia play. So there's like these soft reboots that are reboots, but also harken back, and it's canon. The previous, I think the Paul Rudd Ghostbusters vehicle was essentially a reboot for the franchise, but the older characters from the original Ghostbusters franchise were in it and were canon. So people try to do that. And then but also I believe the failed Ghostbusters sequel with the old woman cast also tried this, a reboot, and still inside the universe. And sometimes you have mixed results. Neither of those two were very good by any stretch of the imagination.
Tony being all in on Back to the Future is something I never would have had.
I love Back to the Future. Love Dr.
Time travel.
Brown.
I can see it.
Yeah, I love that. It's one of my favorite movies.
Just because of time travel?
No, just because of the entire movie. Like the premise. Amin's with me on this one. Whenever he gets into town, we'll talk to him about it. But I love Back to the Future.
It's just weird. You never know, like, your reaction to Beetlejuice. I think Beetlejuice, maybe not to the level
seen
of Back to the Future, but culturally, Beetlejuice, I mean, it had a Saturday morning cartoon. It's often called back around Halloween time. Hell, Harry Belafonte is not looked at the same way
You think
without it.
Beetlejuice has a more enduring legacy than Back to the Future?
I said it's not to that level, but I do think that Beetlejuice has an enduring legacy for sure.
There's no way. What do you know about Beetlejuice? Anything inside of there outside of like, oh, it's just the character and all that.
Bunch of people singing around a dinner
it's like,
table.
I
I
That's
just
what
said it
think
had
of.
a Saturday morning cartoon. I've
for
actually
a certain age,
I've
but
gone,
I don't remember.
I've gone
a
back to the movie
cartoon.
theaters. I went to the movie theaters a year and a half ago to watch Beetlejuice have like a second run in the movie theaters around Halloween.
Nothing has more staying power than 1.21 gigawatts.
I actually think Beetlejuice has aged a lot better than Back to the Future because the future is our past by quite a bit, and it paints this very ridiculous view of the future that is not even here to this day outside of Donald Trump's presidency.
How do we feel about the White Man Can't Jump? That's a
Nope.
remake, right?
Nope.
No?
Is that a show or a movie?
It's on Hulu, right?
It comes out on Hulu, but not in theaters.
I thought it was a movie. That's what
I think they're remaking it, but they're not remaking it for theaters. Does that make a difference that you're remaking it for a streaming service?
He seems like a nice guy, and he makes me laugh occasionally, but I'm out on Jack Harlow. You don't get to drop...
musically or just as
Yeah,
an
because he
actor?
dropped like a stinker of an album. That album stunk, and the whole industry got behind it. So much so, like, they admit that it was a stinker because he came out with another album, like, right away. And he was a pretty decent host of Saturday Night Live. I find him charming, but I do kind of feel like they're shoving him down my throat.
Is this like a remake or like a reimagining of White Men Can't Jump?
It is, I believe, the same story told with different actors. I don't believe it's going to be a different story.
I mean, between this and House Party, I'm out on these reboots. I'm sorry.
I was
I
out
can't
on
do
House
some-
Party because of all the gratuitous shots they took at the Miami Heat.
Of course.
Yeah, it was bull. I mean, and LeBron's behind this film, a producer. Haven't taken pot shots at Miami. You've won 2 in Miami. That's half of your NBA
Billy,
title output.
What is the distinction you're making between reimaging, reimagining?
Well, it's like Fresh Prince versus Bel Air, right? Like Bel Air is retelling the story, but from a dramatic side, where Fresh Prince was more of a comedy, right? Or like a sitcom. So I'm trying to figure out, are they doing the exact same story exactly the same way with different people, or are they retelling the story? Like, I haven't seen Bel Air. Has anyone seen Bel Air? Is it good?
I've always wanted to watch it, but never did.
Like, is Jack Harlow's girlfriend going to be on Jeopardy? That's what I need to know.
Well, the thing that Michael J. Fox is saying, he's saying we told the story correctly the first time. You don't need to tell it again, but I've already been paid. Do whatever it is that you want. Couldn't the same thing be said of white men can't jump? Like, that's enough. The story was told. That's a Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson, Rosie Perez vehicle. No other actors are going to be able to do that.
Especially since it was such a seminal moment in pop culture too, where pickup games and just that culture, I guess, were more part of the cultural zeitgeist. I don't really know where this movie fits in. I just don't get it. This is one of those instances where I would tell the audience, watch the original.
It's kind of like when they remade Vacation with Ed Helms. You were like, okay, I like Ed Helms, but like, come on.
The worst example I think ever was Point Break. Nobody was asking for a remake, and they just totally ruined it. It's one of the worst
is
movies
anyone
ever.
asking for a remake on Back to the Future?
I think that's got plenty of money to it.
Yeah. By the way, Michael J. Fox, if you really don't care, you know what you say? Nothing. If you say something, you care.
Is that right?
That's
It's
right.
a good point. He's got a point.
I mean,
If he doesn't care, don't say anything.
but he was asked.
Nah.
Okay.
That's
Very
one
good.
of those things you set
Man.
up. You're like, hey, ask me this question so I can get my comment out there.
So you have him saying, "Hey, ask me about
Totally
this thing."
set up, yeah.
Man,
Okay, you're going to take the stance.
Someone's just
of-
walking around asking Michael J. Fox questions.
Well, he's probably
please.
being interviewed.
About what?
His life.
I mean,
he's
he
got
does-
a doc
he
coming
does
out.
have
It's a doc,
it's
still.
out.
documentary, yeah.
And
Still,
he's had
what
an interesting
usually
life.
happens.
Which is covered on Cinephile.
The
this
only
week.
doc I care about is Doc Brown.
Attaboy.
Doc Rivers.
Well, no, I was
not
doing
Blake's
Back
fault.
to the Future. Yeah.
Doc Gooden.
This was Blake's fault this time. Actually.
88 miles an hour. Marty.
I don't understand why Billy insists on
The truth?
taking the lane alone. There's no one else on this
Road
lane.
less traveled.
The road not traveled by anyone else. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go after Michael J. Fox.
Where we're going, there are no roads.